You ever wake up to the sound of silence that just feels like trouble? That was me, new to this supposedly peaceful neighborhood, where the grass is always cut at a perfect 2 inches and the HOA president's ego is even bigger than my mortgage. My only real love, don't judge, was my custom matte black McLaren, my therapy after work, my one indulgence, and honestly, my best conversation partner most days. It didn't make a racket, never flew down the street, and God knows it never went over 20 miles per hour behind the gates. But apparently, it made just the wrong person jealous. The kind of jealousy that can't be cured with a wine spritzer or a book club. You know what I mean? I learned real quick that living here, the Real Housewives drama is just hiding under those pastel shutters. First warning sign. A letter on my windshield. Not a welcome to the neighborhood. No, this was full-on, laminated rage. Your car is a threat to our community. Too fast, too loud, too intimidating. 2 weeks to remove it before we take action. I mean, come on. It's a car, not a monster truck rally. I laughed so hard I almost sent the letter to my old college group chat, just for kicks. Instead, I took a photo and stuck it in my Karen Chronicles folder. You gotta keep receipts for moments like this, trust me. Now, I honestly thought that was the end of it. I wasn't breaking any rules. I checked twice because petty is my cardio. The handbook said nothing about exotic cars, and if anybody was a danger, it was Karen herself, flying through the intersection in her white Range Rover, one hand on the wheel and the other flinging breadcrumbs at squirrels. But, yeah, let me back up a sec. Day 15. I step outside with my coffee, ready for another normal day, and I just freeze. My car, my McLaren, looked like it had survived the apocalypse. Windows smashed in, paint stripped, tires gone. It was personal, not random. Before I could say a word, my neighbor Denise slides up all wide-eyed, whispering like we're in a spy movie. Hey, I saw Karen and the landscaping guy messing with your car last night. Figured it was weird. Weird? Denise, next time just call the cops. Please and thank you. But I didn't freak out. I smiled. Because what Karen didn't know, and here's the twist, was that my porch light was also a security cam. Full audio, perfect view. I slipped inside, queued up the footage, and there it was, Karen in her floral housecoat, absolutely losing her mind, whacking my car like it owed her money, ranting about vehicular threats, while the poor landscaper just looked ready to quit on the spot. I hit pause, called my lawyer, and grabbed a screenshot for the highlight reel. Karen wanted the car gone. Fine, she just bought me a new one that I filed everything with the police. Timestamps, footage, Denise's weird statement. The cop reviewing it just shook his head. Wow, she's not even trying to hide it. No mask, no gloves, just pure HOA president confidence. The board tried to smooth things over, sent me a groveling email. Except Karen, of course, who doubled down. That car was a missile, she barked. He ignored my warnings. I was protecting the children. You ever hear something so dumb you start to question reality? That was me. She tried to weaponize the HOA handbook. Problem was, I'd already highlighted every section about vehicles and emailed the annotated version to the board, subject line. Karen's favorite fictional rules. Petty? Maybe. Necessary? Absolutely. It all rolled into court. And here's the subplot. Karen didn't bring a lawyer. She came in with a clipboard and a stack of blurry photos of my car parked legally, while my lawyer was giddy, practically humming, ready to drop the slideshow. First slide, Karen in action, hammer mid-swing, crazy eyes on display for everyone to see. The judge raised an eyebrow. The gallery started whispering. Karen tried to cough it away. Then came her infamous HOA-wide emails, accusing me of being a street racer and a fast and furious embarrassment. My lawyer printed those on glossy paper, just for style. Karen snapped. That's out of context. The judge just goes, "Ma'am, it's your email." Then it was Karen's turn. She actually said, with a straight face, that vehicle was a threat to every child within 5 blocks. I had to neutralize it. Neutralize it. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a second. I finally got to tell my side. Showed logs, GPS data, neighbor statements, decibel readings, even pulled up the Mythbusters music in my head. When closing arguments wrapped, the judge leaned back and said, "This is one of the more unusual cases I've seen, but the evidence is overwhelming. Miss Karen, you are liable for full damages." Karen's face looked like she just bit into a lemon. "Wait, what?" The judge added. "Replacement cost, upgrades, court fees, and a harassment fine." I'd already ordered the new car by then, with an extra special touch, custom red brake calipers, and, thanks Karen, stitched right into the leather headrests. 2 weeks later, my new McLaren showed up, and let me tell you, rolling through the gates at 10 miles per hour, blasting the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme, has never felt sweeter. Karen watched from her yard, hose in hand, face frozen, while I just waved. The fallout? She had to sell her Range Rover, take out a second mortgage. Her husband quit the HOA board. Even her poodle developed stress alopecia. Yeah, karma went all out. Denise showed up at the next HOA meeting with popcorn. No kidding. The board kicked Karen out as president. Someone even suggested banning her for disturbing the peace. Now that's justice. Nowadays, Karen doesn't come within 10 feet of my property. I hung her original complaint letter in my garage, next to a still from the porch cam, my little trophy wall. Sometimes I just sit in the car, engine off, smiling at the craftsmanship and the court receipt. Thing is, it wasn't just about the car. It was about sending a message. Nobody, not even the HOA president, gets to make up their own rules and trash someone else's life because they're bored or bitter. You do that, you might just lose everything. Over a car you never even drove. So, was it fair? Did karma go too far, or not far enough? That's on you to decide. Drop your thoughts below. What would you have done if Karen came for you? Let's hear it. You'd think after all that, the neighborhood would finally be quiet, maybe even a little more neighborly. But you know how it goes. One Karen falls, and suddenly, everyone's looking around wondering who's next. I actually started getting friendly waves, folks asking about the McLaren, people who'd barely nodded at me for months now stopping in the street like, "So what really happened at court?" Suddenly, I wasn't the guy with the dangerous car. I was the guy who'd stood up to the HOA queen and won. Some folks acted like I was some kind of local hero, which, I'll admit, felt pretty good, especially after everything. But then the real kicker, Denise, my so-called witness, suddenly starts dropping hints that maybe she should get something for helping me win. You know that feeling when someone tries to cash in on your trouble like it's a group project? Yeah, that happened. She shows up at my door with a bottle of cheap wine, grinning like a lottery winner, saying, "Hey, if you ever want me to look after your place when you're gone, I do have experience spotting troublemakers." I almost spit out my coffee. Let me back up a sec. Denise is the type who never met a fence she couldn't peek over, and for the last few years, she's been the unofficial info broker of the block. The whole Karen situation? She loved every second of it, and now she wanted her own piece of the pie. Well, before I can even figure out how to politely decline her services, a new face moves into the neighborhood. A retired cop named Greg, big guy, built like a linebacker, with this friendly but don't mess with me kind of presence. He parks his pickup right across from my house, and the first thing he does? Walks straight over, looks at the McLaren, and just says, "Heard you took down a Karen. Mind if I shake your hand?" That's the neighborhood for you. One minute you're dodging crazy, the next you're getting the royal treatment for surviving it. Greg turns out to be a solid guy, but not everyone's happy to see him, especially the old HOA clique, now leaderless, drifting like lost ducks. There's this one guy, Harold, who decides he's next in line for president and starts campaigning like we're in a high school election. Flyers, group emails, even a meet your future president barbecue. Yeah, I went, mostly for the free ribs. During the barbecue, Harold stands up and starts ranting about restoring order, getting back to tradition, and, get this, making the neighborhood safe for families. I almost choked on a drumstick. Greg and I just exchanged a look, and I swear, even the dogs seemed embarrassed. Anyway, one afternoon, Greg and I are out front, swapping car stories. when Denise rushes over all out of breath, clutching her phone like it's on fire. Turns out, someone's been leaving anonymous letters around the neighborhood again. Not just about cars this time. This was about people. Gossip, threats, complaints about the new families moving in, especially targeting anyone who didn't fit the old country club mold. Greg takes one look and says, "I've seen this before. Someone's trying to stir up trouble, get folks fighting so they can slide into power without anyone noticing." I won't lie, it shook me. For a minute, I thought about just keeping my head down. After all, I'd already fought my battle. But Greg wasn't having it. "Look," he says, "bullies don't stop until someone stands up. Doesn't matter if it's a parking spot or the whole damn HOA." That got me fired up, so we teamed up. Denise, too, when she realized she could play detective. We set up cameras, compared notes, even caught Harold sneaking around with a stack of envelopes late one night. The dude was so bad at sneaking. He tripped over a lawn gnome and almost knocked himself out. We got the footage, printed screenshots, and called an emergency HOA meeting. Picture this. The whole neighborhood packed into the community center, everyone buzzing. Greg standing at the front with his cop stance, me holding the printouts, Denise live tweeting the drama like her life depended on it. Harold tried to play it cool, but when Greg hit play on the security footage and the room went silent, you could practically hear his reputation shriveling up. People gasped, a few laughed. One kid in the back just yelled, "Busted." Yeah, that happened. It was chaos for a minute. Shouting, finger-pointing, old grudges coming out like weeds. But for once, people actually listened. I stood up, told everyone. We moved here for peace, for a place to call home, not to get bossed around by whoever yells the loudest or writes the nastiest letter. You want safety? Respect each other. You want tradition? How about we start a new one, looking out for our neighbors instead of hunting them down? Maybe it was cheesy, but man, it worked. By the end, the board voted Harold out. Greg got nominated as president, and I swear half the room cheered. A month later, the neighborhood was different. People waved. The gossip slowed down. Denise finally started using her energy to run a garden club. Greg actually asked me to help write up some new, sane rules for the HOA. Stuff that made sense, stuff that kept bullies in check, not cars. And Karen? She moved out. For real. Sold her house. Range Rover gone. Poodle reportedly back to full fluff. Word is, she tried to pull the same stunt in her new neighborhood, but didn't last a month before the next HOA sent her packing. You know, sitting here now, looking at my McLaren, still spotless, still slow as ever in the neighborhood. I get it. This place will never be perfect, but at least now, nobody gets to decide who belongs and who doesn't based on what they drive, or where they're from, or how loud they laugh at a block party. Funny how a little chaos can shake things up and bring out the best, or the worst, in people. All I know is, sometimes you gotta risk being that neighbor if it means making the whole street a little better for the next guy. Or, at the very least, a little less ridiculous. So, what do you think? Should people mind their own business? Or do you have to call out the nonsense to protect your peace? Ever had an HOA nightmare that actually ended well? Go ahead, share your story or your wildest HOA horror tale down below. Let's see who's got the best neighborhood drama, because around here, we've all got at least one.